A little less conversation, a little more action. All this aggravation ain't satisfaction in me. A little more fight, a little less spark.
A little less fight, a little more spark. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Drew GRIMALDI podcast on this beautiful Saturday. It's crazy that we're like halfway through April already. We're going to be in May before we know it. But a lot of crazy things have happened just this week. So I wanted to go over some of these with you here. But first, I wanted to start out with some of the Iran. This is so funny, okay? So Pakistan goes after Israel for a minute. And I want you to see this because this is pretty crazy. But check this out. This is Pakistan going after Israel for what they're doing in Lebanon. And I just thought this was an interesting thing to have happen at. Check this out.
The representative of Pakistan has asked for the floor to make a further statement. I give them the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am obliged to take the floor to respond to some comments. The representative of Israel perhaps did not listen attentively to all council members and other speakers in today's debate. And in our view, it is unacceptable, indeed ludicrous, for an aggressor, an occupier, a serial violator of UN Charter and international law, that is Israel, to abuse this chamber and disrespect the sanctity of this council. And this is not the first time. And by pointing fingers on others, baseless assertions primarily aimed at masking its own illegal actions and violations of international law.
They were attacked.
President, but that's
on October 7th, you asshole. My God.
That's all surprising. It is an occupier that does not listen to anyone, that does not pay heed to any advice, even from its friends, if there are any left, that refutes, and not just refutes, it threatens members of the international community, international media, international human rights and humanitarian organizations, doesn't listen to the ICJ.
The ICJ is a joke. It's been recognized as a joke of a court.
The UN and its senior
The UN's a joke. I mean, what are we talking about here?
And it does that with impunity, shielded by its apologists who time and again acquiesce in its illegal actions and defiance of...
So this guy, we're just going to stop there because this is so full of shit. But that was Pakistan. And I wanted to point that out because Pakistan is full of shit. But some of these have even aged from when I started this because we have a ceasefire. The ceasefire is open. And we have the Strait of Hormuz open, which brings me to my point that now that the Strait of Hormuz is open, now you have Keir Starmer saying he's going to send a delegation. He's going to send an army down to go open the strait once it's already open. Like, these people are worthless. We didn't need your help now. We needed it a couple months ago, but we didn't really need it. But CNN finally gives Donald Trump props. Check this one out here. It's crazy because you get to see the media as they make... Oh, this is a fantastic video. I'm glad I found
this.
In
the White House.
Check
a person who plays a crazy person a lot on TV lives there. I'm Michael Smerconish in the Philly Burbs. Bill Maher said those words last spring after having dinner with President Trump at the White House. And then he added, which I know is effed up, it's just not as effed up as I thought it was. A hue and cry followed. Festivus ensued when Larry David satirized Maher in the New York Times under the headline, "My Dinner with Adolf." And in a choice between two of my favorite comedians, I stood with Maher on the theory that it's better to have dialogue and to break bread than to demonize. Maher was mingling with the President of the United States, and guess what? When the dinner ended, he went right back on TV and continued his biting analysis of Trump. And of course, the President eventually took to Truth Social to hit back at Bill Maher. The Maher dinner has been on my mind this week, watching Trump's Truth Social posts amidst the war in Iran. You've seen them by now. Easter Sunday, open the effing straight, you crazy bastards. And then on Tuesday, a whole civilization will die tonight. The reaction at home was fierce. Unhinged, screamed a Drudge headline. Others called for invocation of the 25th Amendment on the grounds that Trump had demonstrated he was unable to perform his duties. And Democrats, anticipating retaking the House in November, began using the I word, impeachment. Still, 90 minutes before Trump's Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern deadline, a 2-week ceasefire brokered by Pakistan was announced. And something else happened on Tuesday. The New York Times published a deep dive by Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan, sharing reporting from their forthcoming book, Regime Change. This was a granular reconstruction of Trump's decision to go to war with Iran. For example, Haberman and Swan didn't just summarize what happened on February 11 when Benjamin Netanyahu came to the White House to sell an attack on Iran. They detail what was said by each participant in the Situation Room and also exactly where in the room everybody was seated. By this account, Netanyahu and Trump were aligned in hawkish thinking, but there was skepticism raised by Trump's team. The following day, when the Americans met without Israeli counterparts, CIA Director John Ratcliffe told Trump that Netanyahu's regime change scenarios were farcical. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said it's bullshit. Vice President J.D. Vance was the most doubtful of the group. Quote, nobody in Mr. Trump's inner circle was more worried about the prospect of war with Iran or did more to stop it than the vice president. General Kane, chair of the Joint Chiefs, said the Israelis, quote, oversell their plans and are not always well developed. Notably, by this account, Trump was dismissive of Kane's concern that the Strait of Hormuz might be...
So time out there. So here's my point, is that he just broke down the fact that Trump, and he made it sound, right? But Bill Maher said that Donald Trump's not really the crazy person. He just plays one on TV. And what he just said was that all of the craziness of we're going to end a civilization tonight, all of that was on the back end, had some serious thought and some consideration. They weren't crazy. And people weren't all gung-ho to go into it. And it wasn't always Israel and that. But I digress. This is really good. Check out the rest of it.
Blocked by Iran. And then, in the final days of February, new intelligence revealed that the Ayatollah would be meeting above ground with other top officials from the regime in broad daylight and wide open to air attack. The president gave Iran another chance to strike a deal, but Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner reported from Geneva that the Iranians were playing games. On February 26, another meeting in the Situation Room ensued, and during the course of an hour and a half, the president said he, quote, wanted to go around the table and hear everyone's views. Vance repeated that an attack on Iran was a bad idea, but that he'd support the president's position. After CIA Director Ratcliffe discussed the stunning intel that the Iranian leadership was about to gather above ground in broad daylight at the Ayatollah's compound, the White House counsel David Warrington offered the opinion that the plan being presented to the president was legally permissible. General Kane told Trump he needed to decide by 4 p.m. the following day. Aboard Air Force One the next afternoon, 22 minutes before Kane's deadline, Trump gave the order. Operation Epic Fury is approved. No aborts. Good luck. I don't think that the Times reporting was a result of leaks. I think the administration wanted this story in the public domain. In contrast to those offensive and intemperate Truth Social...
So anyways, I said that was good, but that was enough of that. But I like the way that he broke that down, because essentially he brought up that you have a man that knows how to play a crazy person. And you got to be a little crazy to play a crazy person. But Trump does that very, very well. And that scares a lot of people, because they know that he's not bluffing. And clearly he carries a big stick. But I digress. We now have the European Union. They're telling their people in Europe to stay home to save fuel. This is insane.
Is how can we reduce the demand? Because, of course, the least expensive energy is the energy that is not used. We should reduce demand while fully respecting the free choice of consumers. So we are looking at energy efficiency levers such as renovation of buildings or the renewal of equipment in industrial operations. These are some measures, but there are also other measures that we will present, or will be the core of the presentation of the communication next week on the table of the leaders. So far for the is how can we reduce the demand? Because, of course, the least expensive energy is the energy that is not used. We should reduce demand while fully respecting the free choice of consumers. So we are looking at energy efficiency levers such as renovation of buildings or the renewal of...
So she's essentially saying that, and there's another clip of her saying, ride your bikes and all of that shit. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But that brings me to my next one here. Starmer. This guy is absolutely worthless. Check this one out. Starmer, after the Strait of Hormuz is now open again, decides we're going to send a commission.
Trump last night and set out to him the views of the region here. These Gulf states are the neighbours of Iran, and therefore, if the ceasefire is to hold, and we hope it will, it has to involve them. They have very strong views on the Strait of Hormuz. And we spent most of the time on the call talking about the practical plan that's going to be needed to get navigation through the Strait, and the role that the UK is playing. For a couple of weeks now, we've been pulling together a coalition of countries, now over 30 countries.
You did nothing. You wouldn't even let us use your bases.
Plan, but also looking at military capabilities and actually the logistics of actually moving vessels through the Strait. So that was the focus of the discussion last night, reflection on what I've been discussing here, but also that focus on a practical plan in relation to navigation through the Strait.
What a worthless piece of shit. You see what I'm saying, though? Now that everything's open, and he wants to get his name on the good side. And everybody keeps bringing up the Mandelson thing because he did hire an entire, a guy who was a notorious Epstein abuser. But hey, I digress. So this here is ICE. Okay, we had some ICE agents over the week who were charged by one of the Minneapolis AGs. Okay, and this is crazy, and she's probably going to go to jail for this. Actually, check this one out though.
I'm a federal agent.
917-110-3.
So this is not the one I was just thinking of. This one's actually another federal agent, but this is a federal agent who is taken to the ground by two local police officers because he's a federal agent. And the person inside the house called the police, like these liberal mayors are saying to do, and these cops tackle a federal agent. Check this out. It's craziness.
I'm a federal agent.
Get on the ground!
Get on the ground. I'm a federal agent.
Why wouldn't you show me your ID when I got here? Don't move forward.
You didn't ask for it.
He is at 335.
Get on the ground. We'll figure it out.
On that 10-8.
Not getting on the ground.
Well, then stay where you're at.
I'll stay where I'm at.
Fine. Why do you got to make this harder than it is?
Listen, I'm not getting on.
I have no problem making this.
You're the one overreacting.
I'm not overreacting. We got a call that someone's impersonating a police officer out here who doesn't have ID.
No kidding, because she doesn't want to open it.
Okay, get on the ground so I can find out who you are.
It ain't happening.
Okay, fine. Fine. Do you think I'm a police officer or something? What the heck's the matter with you? Who do you think you are? Get on the ground!
I'm not getting on the ground.
He's a federal agent, you dumb fuck.
I'm not getting on.
91.7, I'm pulling up.
I got my ID.
Do not reach for your waist! Keep your hands up! Keep your hands up!
Why would I have an overlay?
Get your hands up! Sir! Get on the ground! Face down! On the ground! Face down! Now! Face down!
You guys are making a big mistake.
You are making a mistake! Gentlemen, face down! Now! All the way down!
Don't do this! Wait a second, I got a medical condition. Get my license out of my pocket!
We're getting you, sir!
Wait! No! Hold on, I'm hyperventilating. Please! Wait, please, sir. I'm not. Would you please get my ID out of my left pocket? I'm begging you. My wife's please. It's right here. Please get it.
I got one.
Wait,
Those cops
sir, help me up.
are going to be
Hold me
working
up. Sir,
as fucking security guards.
Sir, stop resisting now. Please help me. Sir, please get my federal cred.
Get your taser out.
No, don't do that, please. Don't make me tase you. No. Okay. Help me up. Help me up.
No, stand on the ground. Put your right arm behind your back.
Let me breathe. I'm gonna. Ow, don't do that. Okay. Here. My God! It is cuffed! Please stop! Please stop, sir! My God, I'm here! No, you're the one that's in the wrong!
The cops know they're in the wrong.
You can't be harassing the police! You obey command! Sir, I was trying! No, you didn't obey command! Sir, I'm with you guys, for Christ's sake! I'm a fucking federal agent! Who's your supervisor? What's his name? What's your supervisor's name? Hang on a sec. The SAC is currently John McPherson, who's on his way out to retire, who will soon be rolling.
I took the mag out.
My God! This is crazy! You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Stand up. Stand up.
Idiot! For crying out loud, you're a cop, not an ass. No! Wait!
And then they still arrest them because once they've gotten that far and they know they're probably going to lose their jobs, they might as well go the whole way. It's sickening what these liberal cities will do. Yeah, but this one here is the one that I was trying to find for you. This one here is, if it's maybe I messed these up here. Nope, this is it right here. Here you go. This is it.
Today, our office is charged.
So just to give the preface here, so this one here, this is the Minnesota AG saying that she's pressing charges against ICE agents for doing their job.
Charged Gregory Donnell Morgan, an Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE agent, with 2 counts of second-degree assault. There is now a warrant for Mr. Morgan's arrest, which allows law enforcement to arrest him anywhere in the country. Before I address the details of this case, I want to take a moment to talk about the timeline and why a charging decision was reached earlier in this case than in the shooting of Julio Sosa Solis and the killings of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. I know the community is following the decisions of this office very closely, and I want to be transparent on why these situations are developing at different speeds. This case followed the typical investigation and submission process for cases coming to our office. The Minnesota State Patrol received a 911 call from the victims, who had a gun pointed at them by the driver of a vehicle who pulled up.
Okay, they had a 911 call because they were illegal immigrants fleeing from ICE agents. So that's why they were getting chased down by the ICE agents, who were clearly ICE agents, but continue.
Next to them illegally on the shoulder. The State Patrol was able to investigate thoroughly, identify Mr. Morgan, and conduct an interview with him at the Whipple building. After finalizing the investigative case file, the State Patrol submitted the case to our office for potential charges. Virtually none of the obstacles around evidence collection that exist for the January shootings exist in this case. On February 5th, Mr. Morgan was driving illegally on the shoulder of eastbound Highway 62, or the Crosstown, just past the Portland Avenue exit, appearing to attempt to bypass slower traffic. The victim who was driving briefly moved their vehicle into the shoulder to slow him down. Mr. Morgan was driving a rented SUV with no markings or other features to indicate that it was an...
You hear that? That he tried to slow him down. Okay, so they clearly knew it was an ICE agent, and they tried to interfere with an ICE agent. And yet, here they are. You get bull dykes like this that think that they are above the federal law. She's going to get in trouble for it. She's going to get in trouble. She's going to get hit, slapped with this obstruction of justice because these ICE agents are out there trying to get rapists and murderers. And these people like this Bull Dyke is the one holding everything up.
ICE vehicle. After the victim's vehicle moved back into the legal lane, Mr. Morgan sped up to pull alongside the victim's vehicle. Mr. Morgan then visibly slowed his vehicle to match the pace of the victim's vehicle, opened his window, and pointed his duty weapon directly at both victims in the other vehicle while continuing to drive illegally on the shoulder. Both the driver and the passenger in the victim's vehicle felt threatened by Mr. Morgan's.
Oh my God, they felt threatened because
the driver called 911.
Oh my God, they felt threatened because they put themselves in front of a federal agent and a criminal? Oh my gosh, they felt threatened? I can't imagine why. Get the fuck out of the way.
911, while the passenger began to video the SUV when it pulled into the lane in front of them. On February 6th, State Patrol investigators conducted a voluntary interview with Mr. Morgan and his partner, who had been in the back seat of the rented SUV at the time of the incident. During the interview, Mr. Morgan admitted that he was driving the rented SUV, and he and his partner were headed to the Whipple building to end their shift. Additionally, he admitted that he drew his firearm after the victim's vehicle had already rejoined the normal flow of traffic, corroborating details from interviews with the victim. The State Patrol retrieved video of the incident from highway cameras, which is also consistent with the details of the interviews. We have charged Mr. Morgan with 2 counts of second-degree assault, 1 count for each victim, for threatening the victims with a dangerous weapon. Second-degree assault with a gun has a presumptive sentence of 36 months in prison. Mr. Morgan's conduct was extremely dangerous.
They can't think that this is going to hold.
Driving
I mean, you're nobody, out honey.
Of your moving vehicle at the victims who were in another moving vehicle could have
she's
led
just making shit up. She's not even telling the truth of the incident.
In a community that has already suffered too many. I want to thank the Minister
suffering because of people like her
for their investigative work on this case and for submitting it to our office for charging consideration.
Yeah, people like that should be nowhere near public office. Because if you're going to get in the way of federal agents doing their job, trying to take rapists, child rapists, pedophiles, murderers off the street, then you have no place in public office, and you should be arrested. You should be arrested for obstruction of justice because these angry liberal women who clearly don't get laid or they're not happy about their lives, they want to make everybody else's lives miserable as well. And that's why they do stuff like this. Now, that woman, she's clearly unhappy with her own life, but it was probably the Renee Good story that got her all hot and bothered under the collar. And the truth of the matter is, again, you look at all the facts, the ICE agent actually could have done a lot worse. Thankfully, nobody was hurt worse than just him getting clipped. But obviously she died. But you can't run over an ICE agent. If I ran over a federal agent, it doesn't matter what color skin I am, who I am, what sexual orientation I am, I'm going to get shot too. So that's my point. So I'm continuing on. We had RFK. Oh, this is great too. So here is Stephen Miller on the fall of Eric Swalwell.
Here, has the president said anything about Swalwell? I don't know if he said anything. Has he been following that?
Why, has he had a bad week, Jesse? I haven't been watching.
You might be busy with bigger matters of war and peace.
Couldn't have happened to a better person. But look, here's the most important thing if we have 10 seconds on this, and I'm sure you would agree with this. The most important part about this story, and look, Swalwell is a scumbag. He is a terrible person, the worst of the worst, the lowest of the low, the most dishonest of the most dishonest. But the real story here is how the Democrat Party controls its members through blackmail. It's got a blackmail file on all of its politicians, and it uses them to leverage and control them until it's time to release it. That is how sick and twisted the Democrat Party is. That's the next thread we've got to pull out here, Jesse.
All right, it's a dangerous business. We'll see how it shakes out. We have you here.
It's true, though. That's how they operate. And you do one thing that the Democrat Party doesn't want you to do, and all of a sudden, Here is Hakeem Jeffries on CNBC, also getting ruined like his counterpart, the Buttigieg, Pete Buttigieg.
Of disagreement whether Wall Street and Main Street are always aligned, but at least we know that the corporate profitability and the economy and profit margins are reflected in what happens in the averages. So in other words, if we're facing a recession, it's unlikely for the stock market to be doing well. We can look at the bond market as well. So I just wanted to show you a couple of charts. One is the S&P, one is the NASDAQ. We're back to all-time highs, basically, on most of the averages. You can see that when the tariffs were enacted, that's in the middle of the chart. There was a sell-off, quick rebound, and the same sort of situation happening now. Same with the NASDAQ. And then also, I just want to show you quickly the 10-year note, or interest rates. Go back for the same period of time, and inflation is not where the Fed wants it. It's not where anyone wants it. But you would normally see, if there was a true crisis, you would normally see some type of panic or angst in the bond market. So just in terms of Wall Street, you would not know things are going very poorly the way that you describe it. Things are going pretty well.
Well, actually, I talk to corporate leaders all the time, and they're incredibly concerned with the instability and the uncertainty that Donald Trump and Republican policies have created. Because as you know, Joe, it's impossible to make sound investment decisions when you have such an uncertain, unstable public policy environment, which Donald Trump has continued to put forward in terms of the way in which he's conducted himself. And so that's highly problematic. And the reality is, at the end of the day, for the American people that we all are privileged to represent here in Congress, that, for the investing class under Donald Trump's policies, including his one big ugly bill, which enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history at the same time that these my colleagues, provided massive tax breaks to their billionaire donors, the investor class is doing well. The problem is the working class is not. And Donald Trump promised to focus on making life more affordable for working class Americans, and in that regard, all evidence indicates he has failed.
Hakeem Jeffries is retarded. They groomed him to be the next Barack Obama, and my gosh, he is the Temu dollar store Obama, if I've ever seen one. He's retarded. All he says, look how bad the economy is. Really? Everything around, all the indicators says otherwise. Like, you're not making any sense. The Democrats don't make sense when they talk about things not going well for the economy. Economy-wise, things are going really well. And it fucks them up because they want to blame the whole Biden years on COVID. That's their newest thing. They want to blame COVID years for Biden's inflation. And it's not true. It's how he handled it after the fact is what caused that. But I digress. Now I wanted to get into some of these here. Before I get to some of my Haiti talk, let's get to RFK Jr. RFK Jr. Was in front of Congress testifying. Check this one out. Listen to the amount of fraud that he talks about that they found. This is wild.
I mean, we saw during the Biden administration, my predecessor actually instructed people in my department to end program integrity. So we had 80 people in my department when Secretary Becerra came in, were assigned to do program integrity for these programs. these state programs, and he fired all but 6 of them. So that stopped. And they specifically told people in my department, don't worry about fraud, worry about enrollments. They changed the policy to a policy of our payment policy, to a pay and chase policy, so that even claims that we knew to be fraudulent, we would pay and then later go back and try to claw back that money, which incidentally never happened. We have now changed those policies. We are investigating the fraud, and I'll give you one example. In Minnesota, for applied behavioral analytics, which is treatments for autism, kids with autism, we were expecting to pay $7 million a year for that program. We ended up paying almost $300 million. The difference is fraud. And we're seeing that now, that money was some of it was being sent to Al-Shabaab in Somalia. We have now impounded payments to Minnesota because for 1 quarter, about $350 million, because they've refused to give us receipts. And we've said we're not going to pay until you can show us the receipts.
Think about that, all that fraud. And think about what he just said. They were just letting anybody open a hospice care in California. They were just letting anybody open up a daycare for autism. It's disgusting. That's what these people are. And then the Democrats, after 4 years of Joe Biden and hiding his mental illness, they like to try to be like, well, what about Trump's mental illness? What about Trump's mental illness? It's just a joke. It's all theater. They know he's perfect.
Mr. Secretary, you are the nation's top health official. And I want to talk to you today about the president's mental health. On April 5th at 8 o'clock in the morning of Easter Sunday, President Trump posted this statement on social media. Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. An American president used the F word in a Sunday morning message that was seen by millions of people. Mr. Secretary, does this raise concerns for you about the president's mental health?
The president is a bargainer, and he knows how to make good deals.
Mr. Secretary, does this raise questions about the president's mental health to you?
Here's what I would say, that for 2 generations, every American president...
Mr. Secretary, you're being non-responsive. Reclaiming my time, Mr. Secretary, I gathered the answer. It does not raise concerns for you. 2 days later, on April 7th, President Trump put out a statement that said, quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will." End quote. Mr. Secretary, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States military is calling for the eradication of an entire civilization. And 5 days later, the President started posting on Truth Social at 9 p.m. at night, continuing until 5 a.m. the next morning, and included an unhinged attack on Pope Leo, claiming Pope Leo was weak on crime. And then, later that day, the next day, President Trump posted this image of himself as Jesus Christ. Mr. Secretary, people across the country and around the world were deeply offended by this blasphemous image. Millions of Americans are questioning this president's mental fitness, his emotional stability, and whether he can carry out the duties of his office. Do you share their concerns about his mental health?
I want to call your attention to the last line of that.
Mr. Secretary, my question was, do you share their concerns about his mental health?
Let the man answer.
Mr. Secretary, you're not being responsive. Apparently not. Reclaiming my time, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Secretary, reclaiming my time. Mr. Chairman, direct the witness. It's my time, Mr. Secretary. You're not being responsive, and apparently you don't share their concerns. We are a nation at war, Mr. Secretary. We need a commander-in-chief that we know has full command of his mental faculties.
Of course, he's
and
from
is
California.
mostly stable,
They're all
as
fucking
he
weird.
sends uniformed American men and women into harm's way.
We see what these people cheer for.
Millions of Americans are
What a
now
weirdo.
wondering if this president is
Anyways,
delusional.
We're going to turn that guy off because he's full of shit. Of course, he's from California. It's like he's in his own fucking world. But here is the last one for RFJ Jr. They booted 1.4 million illegals from the healthcare rolls that were leeching on our system, and they shouldn't have been there to begin with. But Democrats kick and scream.
Next 10 years.
So over $1 trillion comes out over the next 10 years. Report after report says 15 million people could lose their health insurance.
How is that a cut?
Okay, let's talk about
that. Is only a cut in Washington, D.C.
Have you met with any of the 1.4 million people who have lost their health insurance just this last year from dropping off of Obamacare? Have you sat down and talked to those folks about the fact they won't have their health insurance again?
They're almost all illegal immigrants.
Oh, well, you know what? It sounds like you haven't met with folks like Portia in my district.
We found 1.5 million illegal immigrants illegally collecting Medicaid.
Mr. Secretary, there are people like Portia in Buda, Texas, whose health insurance costs went from $100 a month to $500 a month. People like my constituent Shauna in San Marcos, Texas, her premium went from $250 to $750 a month. Now, $500 a month may not be a lot to you or to some of the billionaires that y'all are talking to, but for these moms with kids, they've lost their health insurance this last year. So have you had a conversation with, how many people have you sat down with that have said, Mr. Secretary, I lost my health insurance this last year. What are we going to do about it?
87% of the people who are on Obamacare are paying less than $96 a month. 54% of the who are on Obamacare today are paying less than $50 a month.
Well and good for us to talk about Obamacare policy.
By the way,
question is, it sounds like the answer
had 3 chances to make.
We could talk all we want about the past.
Tax credits.
We could talk about.
Why didn't you do it?
We could talk about the past.
Why didn't you do it when you had the power to do it?
Mr. Secretary, just like you, I'm new here. I'm responsible for what's happening right here and now.
Yell at your colleagues.
My question, Mr. Secretary, is: have you met with anybody that's lost their health insurance? And it sounds like the answer is 0. So my
because they're all illegals.
You've had time to meet with the billionaires. I know it's a lot of fun to meet with Kid Rock.
The people that lost the insurance were illegals.
Their health insurance because of the policy from this last year.
Yeah, people who come up to me.
I mean, it's all theater. It's all fake. And half of these people that grill this, RFK, they don't know shit. They don't know shit from Shinola, as they say. Now, wanted to move into this part because this is quite something. So, 7 Republicans voted to have, in the House, they passed it, to have the Haitians get more temporary protection status. Now, this is kind of crazy, right? We're like, why? How in the fuck would this even happen? Check this one out. So we're going to start with this one. This one's Chip Roy going off on the 7 senators, Republicans.
I think my friend from California, and I would note the starting place here. In 2010, Haitians were granted temporary status, after a severe earthquake struck their country. Since then, thousands of foreign nationals from Haiti have remained in the United States due to the renewal of this flawed program over and over and over again. That which was supposed to be temporary has become effectively permanent. And I've heard a lot of numbers flying around here talking about the number of Haitians, 350,000 that'll on TPS that be taken out of health care. It is a fraction of that number that is actually in health care, let's be honest. My friend from Texas, Mr. Gill, noted earlier that 65% of the population is on welfare. 65% of the population that came in here under a temporary status is now living off of the taxpayer dollars of American taxpayers because we continue this flawed program. Let's also talk about the reality that we have 91% of all Haiti TPS holders entered the country illegally, deliberately violating our immigration laws, and are now using TPS status to stay in the United States. This is not what this program was designed to do. Now, I heard one of my colleagues a minute ago talk about Haitians fleeing danger. You know who else was fleeing danger? A mom, an innocent mom in Florida, just last week, who was brutally bludgeoned to death with a hammer outside of a convenience store when her car was being beat up by a Haitian here because of Biden and on TPS. That woman, that mother, she was fleeing danger. The danger of a Haitian migrant here using this flawed TPS program that we are now going to allow to be made effectively permanent, undermining what the president is doing to try to stop the abuse of this program to continue to flood the United States with people that are living on the back of American taxpayers and endangering the American people. How many more Americans do we need to see get murdered? How many more young girls on a subway in Charlotte? How many moms like this mom in Florida need to get bludgeoned to death because we refuse to do our job to ensure that the people that are coming to this country are coming here to become a part of our society, to follow our laws, to be a part of the melting pot that we so revere, rather than come here trying to turn America into something that is not and exploit our goodwill to endanger the American people. This is a flawed bill. It should not be supported by anyone in either party. I yield back.
Fantastically said. So that's what he had to say about it. Now, this one here is how much money the Haitian migrants have stolen from us over the years.
Okay? Bonner and Saul Elisme for large-scale SNAP benefit trafficking, a scheme that turned a program designed to feed families into a multi-million-dollar criminal enterprise. SNAP benefits are also known as food stamps. The defendants are charged with one count of food stamp fraud. As alleged in the
$7 million.
These men abused one of the government's most critical safety net programs for their own financial gain. This is taxpayer money meant to keep people from going hungry. These defendants decided to take it for themselves. These defendants exchanged SNAP benefits for cash, which they pocketed. Bonner, a naturalized U.S. citizen from Haiti, owned the Jessuela Variety Store. Elisme, a lawful permanent resident also from Haiti, owned the Saul Marché Mixé store. These two businesses were co-located within a single storefront in Boston. To be certain, these were not supermarkets. They were not full-service groceries. It would be a huge stretch to even call them convenience stores. In fact, the only thing convenient about these stores was how easy it was to commit SNAP benefit fraud. To put this in perspective, the Jessuela Variety Store is less than 150 square feet in size, smaller than some bathrooms. The Saul Marché Mixé store was approximately 500 square feet in space. By contrast, a supermarket can be 20,000 to 60,000 square feet in size, have a dozen or more registers, and employ numerous employees. Both the Jessuela Variety and Saul Marché Mixé stores had one register, no carriages, no hand baskets, and very little food for sale. One legitimate supermarket in the same area as these stores redeems approximately $80,000 in SNAP benefits per month. Over the last 20 months, the Jessuela Variety Store was redeeming between 3 and 6 times that amount monthly, with nowhere near the space, inventory, customers, or infrastructure to support it. The Saul Marché Mixé store redeemed over $120,000 in SNAP benefits in the last 6 months.
Disgusting.
Simply put,
all on our
there
tax
is no
line.
plausible way SNAP eligible food could have been purchased from these stores for this long.
So I digress. We've seen enough of that one. But going back to the temporary protective status, this is what they do. They come here, they do fraud, they get kicked out, and nobody stops them because for Democrats, like, applaud it. They want them to come here because all that fraud money eventually gets laundered back to the Democrats in one form or another when they try to keep them and protect them for their votes. But here's Rep. Brandon Gill going off too about this protective status one that I was telling you about for the Haitians. It's ridiculous. We're even talking about this.
Does mass migration from Haiti benefit the American people? The answer is obviously no. 65% of non-immigrant Haitian-headed households are on welfare. Does that make America stronger or more prosperous or more wealthy in any way? Of course it doesn't. And yet we're being asked to give them amnesty and make these absolutely horrendous years of open borders effectively permanent. So let's ask ourselves.
I thought that was so well said. No, they do nothing to help our lifestyles here at home. They do absolutely nothing. So the Haitians, what the big lie, that they get to stay now, and they got Republicans to vote for it, based on one lie. They said that 20% of the Haitian community was in healthcare. Lie, not even close. So that's why they voted for it, as it turns out. But it was just another big lie.
1,000 Haitian refugees from deportation. How's that going down? Bill Malusian's on it. He is our guy in immigration yet again on the Hill. Bill, good morning.
Bill, good morning to you as well. The House will be voting later today on a bill that would extend temporary protected status for those Haitians for another 3 years. And there is all sorts of outrage on the right this morning after 6 House Republicans voted with Democrats yesterday to advance this legislation, voting on a motion to move it forward. Now, that motion passed because of the help from these Republicans, and some of them explained themselves in posts on X. New York Congresswoman Nicole Maliotakis wrote in part, quote, "These are Haitian immigrants who are working, paying taxes, and contributing to our economy. To strip them of their status and deport them to a country in peril would be uncompassionate and misguided." But other House Republicans who are hawkish on immigration are not happy with this. Texas Republican Congressman Brandon Gill writing, quote, "It is an abomination that any Republican would vote to extend TPS." Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry wrote, quote, "6 Republicans teamed up with Democrats to allow backdoor amnesty for hundreds of thousands of Haitians who came into our country illegally, betraying American citizens." Well, House Democrats now feel wind in their sails, and they are urging the House to extend Haitian TPS when they vote today.
Haitian TPS holders are parents. They are most definitely caregivers.
Here comes the tears.
They're
Oh,
small business owners, healthcare
cares?
providers.
Go home.
They are the essential threads in the fabric of our communities.
They're eating our cats and dogs.
1:30 p.m. later today. We'll be in there, of course, keeping an eye on it. Bill, we'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Bill. Nice to see you on the.
So I digress. They're eating our cats and dogs, and these people are just sitting there like, duh, they're part of the healthcare community. It's stupid. It is stupid. This is more Bill Malusian, I believe. Oh, yeah, this is what, these are the Haitians coming over here. Look at this. Remember this one?
Guys, what you're looking at right now that is the U.S. side of the Rio Grande. That is a mass of several hundred illegal immigrants who have just crossed the Rio Grande. And look at this, several hundred more streaming across as we speak. We're on a boat in the Rio Grande. This is the Mexican side of the river right now. You can see it's a never-ending stream. Hundreds of people crossing the Rio Grande.
All Haitians.
Basically every hour. And
like, it's ridiculous. This is during the Biden regime.
You can see in the background.
And they don't want us to deport anybody.
This is why the situation under the bridge continues to deteriorate. This is insane. The federal government has to wake up.
And they never did. They never did. It is crazy. The whole thing's crazy. The whole thing's crazy. But those were all the Haitians trying to just get there. And how did they get there? They had to get there somehow by boat, by other means of transportation. But it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But the Democrats, they are protecting these people based on a lie that most of them were in healthcare.
So, Congresswoman, congratulations. Tell us, how does it feel to have just passed the discharge petition that's passed the House of Representatives for Haitian temporary protected status?
Well, it's a legislative victory, that I could say technically has been many, many weeks in the making, but actually has been many years in the making. And so, I'm elated that 360,000 Haitian nationals whose lives hang in the balance. They've been managing such uncertainty. They feel a little bit more hope today about what is possible. It's a testament to my team, who's been exhaustive in their efforts, our strategy, a very robust and intentional whip effort. And feeling very encouraged.
And what are some of the challenges you faced? And if you're going to do it over again, if you had another discharge petition, or if one of your colleagues had a discharge petition, what's some of the advice that you will give them on the front end?
You have to build a coalition. So we had a national coalition of partners in labor, like SEIU, faith-based partners like the Archdiocese, the Catholic Church, immigrants' rights and community-based partners like IFC, Haitian Bridge, Forward US, just to name a few. It was really a national coalition. And so I think it's important that, one, you have a strategy that is nimble, so you can reset and recalibrate when you need to. And that, I was saying earlier that my grandfather gave me some of the best advice that I've taken heed to for my life. And he passed away many years ago, but that, plan your work and work your plan. And so I was just head down in working the plan and not getting distracted by anything, not getting discouraged. Another friend of mine said that activism is organized storytelling. And so it was just really important to continue to amplify and lift up the stories of our Haitian neighbors and to highlight their contributions to culture and community, to workforce, to economic development. And I just didn't quit. And I'm so grateful to colleagues that I enlisted in my whip effort, colleagues from New York and Florida, Ohio, and Pennsylvania that have large Haitian constituencies. Also leaning on Republican colleagues on the Ways and Means Committee who supported the bipartisan Haiti Hope Health Act, who believe in the need to stabilize Haiti and wanted to be a trade partner. And I appealed to them and said, well, you can't further compromise a nation that is in a process of rebuilding and send 350,000 people there. So for some people, they were moved by the fact that we have a caregiving crisis. Secretary Kennedy of Health and Human Services had stated that, and 1 in 5 healthcare workers are Haitian. 1 in 4 of our long-term healthcare workers are Haitian. That was a point that was deeply resonant for a lot of people.
That's not true.
Because
like
if you don't accept protected status,
0.5.
People's work authorizations are immediately null and void. Those positions are immediately empty. And then, of course, the humanitarian piece of this. This would separate families and send people back to a country that's been ravaged.
It would send them back together.
Country, but one that's been ravaged by political instability, corruption, natural disasters, gang violence because of guns being trafficked from the U.S. to Haiti.
But that's all they have. That's all the Democrats have, is they lie. Is that they got to make up statistics. They got to call you a bigot. They got to redefine terms, like we saw during COVID when they changed the definition of what a vaccine is, just so they could push the experimental vaccine that killed 100 people, 1,000, hundreds of thousands of people, the clot shot. These people will push their lie, and it's be really curious to see why exactly those Republicans voted for that. And I would guess that it had something to do with money. Probably some of their constituents that are voting for them are Haitian. You never know. And a lot of these guys, they just want to get reelected. So they try to save face every now and then instead of sticking up for what's right. And so we just pray that God gives people the strength to keep doing what's right and to stand up for what is right and just. Because having these people come over here and have them mostly be on welfare that us, the working people of America, have to shoulder that burden, I was reading today that Europeans that they pay a lot less in NATO funds to than like America pays about 60% of NATO costs. And so you have these European countries that allow their citizens to take a month off a year of paid vacation. And I'm sitting there thinking, as an American, there's not many Americans that get that luxury. And it's all because we're sitting here working our asses off to pay for these stupid fucking programs like transgenders in Uganda and all this crap that the Democrats push that is just meaningless bullshit. And I always find too that anytime you look at those types of things where they send money for that kind of stuff, it's all bullshit that was just federal money, taxpayer money that was funneled back to the Democrat Party. It was laundered money. And that's what we found out. But that's all I got for you guys this week. God bless every single one of you. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next Saturday at 11 a.m. with author Dennis Brennan. He's going to come back on. And I hope you guys have a great week. God bless. Keep the faith and get out there and talk shit to a liberal today.